First off, I just want to say deepest thank you for everybody that's driven out on a Saturday night to be here. And especially Carrie, thank you for taking your time to be here. We're what I call Morgan County small but mighty. And I say that because there are a lot of people that are looking at us right now. They are looking at what our little county is, because it's actually very powerful at the State House. Morgan County actually has the president of the Senate. It has my opponent, who is on the House Ways and Means Committee. It also has the treasurer of Indiana. So those are three very powerful positions. And the thing is, most people, when they think about Morgan County, they kind of just drive through. They get on that 69 or the 67 and they're headed to the airport or they're headed to the city, and they don't even stop and see the towns along the way, the restaurants, the stores, and they most definitely don't always see the people. And growing up in Martinsville on Main Street, where my dad, he managed the Swifty gas station for 25 plus years. My mom delivered meals with Socoa throughout Morgan County. And I would have to say that my parents represented the invisible heroes that so many of the people in Morgan County are. And so many of the people in Indiana are. They work hard. They love their neighbors. They love their community. And they want the best for everybody. And one of the reasons why I stepped into running was because for the past 6-7 years, I got involved in organizing. It was advocating for issues. And I'd go to the State House and I would talk about pregnant worker accommodations. And I talk about tenant rights and housing and access to good schools. I went to DC to actually advocate for care over cost, the idea that we should be able to get access to medical care and prescription drugs without the insurance companies denying us. And what I was finding was that the more that I would go to the State House and the more that I would get petitions signed and all these things, it wasn't enough. We weren't changing the dynamic that was happening at the State House, which is what they call a supermajority. We basically have one party, the Republicans here, that have controlled both from the governorship, State House, judicial, all the way down. They have controlled that. And they could actually have bills come and go, and they could vote things through without even bringing it up for debate. They didn't need a single Democrat vote. And I want to name, though, that the problem like that of supermajorities exists in Democrat states. And so part of what my heart is we need to have everybody at the table. It isn't about one group having all the answers. As a matter of fact, it's about all of us coming together with our lived experience, with our education, with the values that we bring, coming and bringing ideas. Because I can guarantee if there's an issue, the most impacted person on that issue probably has our way out if we would just listen to them. So I'm committed to go through and knock doors and talk to people and do the things to find out what are the issues that are impacting people and how can we bring them into the conversation. And most importantly, by running for this office, bringing awareness to things that I think for too long they've been ignored. Backing up though, when I decided to run, it was sitting around a table with my neighbors who are part of a group called Reverse Citizens United. And what they do is they talk about the amount of money that's coming in that's overshadowing everything. And that we have lobbyists, we have corporations that are doing things and we don't even realize it. And so they have worked for years to really start to track where is this money coming in and how is it influencing the legislation that's happening in Indiana. And we were talking about how my opponent has accepted some of this dark money. And then we were talking about the fact that nobody was running against her. And I remember my husband going, well, I keep telling Shell she needs to run. And I was waiting for anybody at that table to go, that's a nice idea. Thank you, but no thanks. And they all turned, and you know that moment where they turn and they just look at you and everything gets quiet? That's what it was. And I went away. And I'm like, I'm going to think about it. I'm going to pray about it. And in my faith, as a Christian, I have learned something in the last few years. I was trying to go, well, if something's God's will, then it'll happen. If something's God's will. And I was always coming from a position of no. Everything is a no. But over the last few years, it was one of those things of what if we started everything as, what if the answer is yes? And you wait for a no. And so because my heart posture had been, I'm saying yes to a door. I'm saying yes to an opportunity. So all of a sudden, when everybody's looking at me and saying, hey, Michelle, you should do this, in the back of my mind is, remember when you said yes? And I kept waiting for the no, and it wasn't there. And then what I saw, as I would talk to other people, go, what do you think? There was a look in people's eyes that was like, please, please. And I realized that in this moment in my life, that was the door that opened, and I stepped through. And then I very quickly realized there was not a lot of support further up. And then I realized that in the politics of things, there is an awful lot of money to be made churning candidates in and out. There is a whole subset of just, you got to get printing, you got to buy this, you've got to do an ad, there's money to be made in the churn of candidacies. And I was like, I'm not playing that game. I don't want to play that game. Too many of my friends and family are being hurt by these systems for me to play the politics game. So how can we do this different? And then I'm looking at the way the maps are and the gerrymandering and the fact that I've got 2 precincts of Monroe, 33 of Morgan, not including Mooresville, and 13 of Johnson. And they're all strategically carved out. And in talking with some of my friends from Reverse Citizens United, they're like, yeah, these are all artificially rural districts. There's a few that are very rural, but for the most part, all of your House candidates are either being very held into like a Bloomington or a Columbus or Greenwood, like they're in that kind of urban center in different parts of Marion. Otherwise, they are carved very creatively all the way around that. What that does is it makes it seem like you go, I don't even know where I belong. So I myself live in the northern part of Monroe. And even though I'm from Martinsville originally, I'm not involved in the day-to-day life of living in the small town of Martinsville like I did when I was younger. But I'm also not involved in the day-to-day life of Bloomington or any of the other areas around me, which by definition kind of feels like rural. Rural folk are kind of outside of the day-to-days of things. Sometimes they want that. Sometimes it's like, hey, I just need my, I want my space, I want my acreage, I want nobody to bother me. But I can guarantee if you've got kids, you kind of are looking for where are my kids going to connect? Who are they going to connect with? And largely that's around schools or Little League or any of these things, these avenues that are largely falling away because of lack of funding. People's schedules are so much, they don't even have time to participate in things. And then let's add a global pandemic. And suddenly we've all been kind of fractured around. And so what I did was I started to talk with my neighbors. And I talked to some of these other House candidates. And we came up with an idea. And after dinner, I will tell you all about that idea and where we're at. So enjoy and thank you guys so much. So I want you to take a notice of the sign behind me. As believe, how many of you have ever seen Ted Lasso? TV? People, all right. If you have not, highly, highly recommend it. In a quick summary about Ted Lasso, it's a story about a coach from the U.S. football, American football coach, who kind of brought his team to stardom. He gets recruited by a UK football club, which is soccer. And so he and his assistant coach go over to the UK, and everybody kind of looks at it as, this is a funny joke. Who is this nobody? He doesn't even know what he's doing. What's that? But the thing about him that was magical is that he really was the heart of a coach, of somebody that's like, I see potential in people. And even the person who could be the most difficult to work with, I'm committed to their transformative growth. And so the series really is this arc of a character of people that you see beautifully transform into really a community. And so I say all of that because I think at the heart of who I am, it really is an organizer. And I didn't realize that even when I was working at Your Action and doing stuff, because I was doing the other part of me, which is I'm a really good administrator. And so I was using those skills in practicality to build an organization. And then when I started to do member engagement, and I started to work with statewide, and what I was noticing was people across the state, they were these lights doing amazing things in their area. And I was like, we need to start connecting all of this. Everybody's doing some great things. And then when this opportunity opened up, I found myself thinking kind of the same thing of, I don't want to do a run for house seat and then in 2 years do it again. And every time get burned out, get discouraged, or more importantly, feel just really alone when you're in a space that it is a lot of groundwork to build up. So I started to talk to the other House candidates around me where we shared actual work. So like Michael Potter in Johnson County, he and I share Johnson County, Thomas Clorox in Monroe County. And they talked to some people and we all kind of came together and said, what if we did kind of like the summer band tour? And we got a group of us and we just kind of went to places in our district and we did a summit, and we invite organizations that are actually doing work around housing and education and healthcare. We invite those groups to table. We talk about the issues. We talk about our vision for Indiana, but more importantly, we mobilize around an energetic environment, a joy-filled environment. And so what we did was we came up with, this is actually an old poster because this has only 8, and we are now 10. So we are now 10 House candidates across southern Indiana. We cover 25 counties. That represents 28% of Indiana. The reason why I say this is important too is because nobody kind of notices the small guy. But what we are doing is we are demanding attention for rural Hoosiers. And we're demanding attention for Indiana, where the nation says, we've written them off. We're not going to invest in Indiana. And we're not going to let them get away with that. It's like, no, invest here. Bring people here. Listen to the stories that are here. And so that's what I'm doing. So here I am. I'm running for Morgan County because I don't want Morgan County to be just a drive-through county. I want investments to be made here for jobs, for education, for healthcare. I tell people the hospital that my brother was born in, right in Martinsville, no longer delivers babies. It is a regional cancer center. And many people don't even realize when that happened. And they definitely don't realize that Martinsville also had a toxic water plume that was causing rare cancers. And they didn't see that those things were connected. And now we have legislation that says that a woman does not have a right to her own body. And so when you bring in forced pregnancy into an environment that does not have health care for it, that does not have housing, that does not have the security structures that basically promote life and stability and family, it's like, for me, I'm like, no, that is not the direction that I want to go. What I want to go is bring people in. Let's have a conversation. Let's change the dynamics, and let's really make Indiana a place that people want to come and live and stay and raise their families, and where their kids can afford to stay and raise their families. So again, I want to say thank you for coming tonight, and let's do this together. I also, if I could just for a moment, Melvin, can you come up and talk a little bit about your campaign and your vision? Melvin's running for county council. I just want to name too that for him, like, he was caucused in. We were like, we need some people down ballot. And he was willing, he goes, I'll go where you need me. I'll go where you need me. And I just am so appreciative because he's kind of come along and been in the places I've been, and we're looking at each other going, I don't know what I'm doing. You don't know what you're doing. We're doing this together. We're going to learn. And we're passionate about it. So thanks.
My name is Melvin Bolden. I've been in Morgan County now for 2005, I think is when we moved in. And so it's about almost 20 years now. So part of like what made me want to run is that every time that I went to vote, and I voted every time, there was very little choice out there for me. So I wanted to put my name out there, or put a choice out there, because I have a vision of being able to sit at the table and have a discussion with someone. We may not see eye to eye on things, but I think we should be able to talk and come to a mutual agreement on what's best for everyone, not just one side or the other. And so that's really what I'm doing. It is just me. I am kind of learning as I'm going, and just kind of running for county council at large in Morgan County.
One of the things that we're going to be doing in Morgan County, so Melvin's running for county council, a gentleman named Tom Wallace, he's running for county coroner. And so we're going to be showing up at places, kind of the three of us, and talking with people and doing some fun things. And Ashley says, yeah, we're going to have muffins with Michelle or whatever works, right?
You never know what I'll come up with.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to hand the microphone over now to Carrie. And guys, you have been so invested in Monroe County, in Indiana, just with people. Okay. And I'm so thankful to have met you. And I'm so thankful to be doing this work together. And I really feel like November, we're going to see a change. The world out there wants to say we need to be afraid. The world out there says we need to be angry and divided. In every space I go, and I don't care whether they say that they're Republican, Libertarian, Democrat, green, orange, purple. People are like, can we get together again? Can we be Hoosiers again? And so I feel like Carrie's always been at the forefront of that conversation. So thank you.